In this video, we'll break the secrets of the labor certification process, also known as Perm, what it is, how do we do it. Stay tuned. And in this video, I want to talk about the labor certification specifically, also known as Perm, P-E-R-M. So what is the labor certification? A labor certification is required because we want to make sure that the government wants to make sure that U.S. workers are not being affected by the hiring of the foreign national. And so we have to go through this labor certification process to show the government that we've done everything that they require and not discriminating against U.S. workers. So the first step in the process is, step number one, is that we have to file a prevailing wage request with the state workforce agency. And the prevailing wage request essentially is a very important step because it tells us what is the wage that should be paid to that foreign national when they get approved for their green card. So that is the wage that determines everything, our advertising, what we put in the form, the level of skill and job. So that is a very important step. It has to be done correctly on the correct form. And it also is important to, when creating the prevailing wage request, to make sure that the job duties are done correctly, because those are the ones that are going to be used, continuously be used throughout the case. It cannot be changed later on. So any mistakes that are happening at that step, in this stage, are going to be adversely affecting the whole successful application of a Perm petition. So once we file the application for the prevailing wage, it's going to take a few months, and then we're going to get a certified prevailing wage determination from the Labor Department. Once we have that, and only once we have that, it's recommended. There are some cases where you can start recruitment before you have a certified prevailing wage determination, but I typically do not recommend to do that. And it's better to have a certified prevailing wage determination and then start the recruitment process, which is step number two. Step number two is the actual recruitment. What does that mean? It means that the government would like to see that we actually publicize the job, so American workers are aware of that and they have a fair chance to apply. And there are certain kind of ads. There was one ad, for example, that must be placed with the state workforce agency, and they are going to have that on their website. There are 2 Sunday ads in a major newspaper circulation that are required. There are a few other steps and a few other ads that are required, maybe like an internet ad and things like that. There's a list of those, and we can put a link for those ads as well in this video description. But it's important to make sure that all the ads are done at the same time. And the reason is because you don't want to stretch that process too long, because the labor certification, once approved, is only good for 180 days. If those ads are out of the 180-day stretch, they're not going to be useful anymore, and you won't be able to file your Perm application or the green card subsequently. So it's very important to try to group those ads as close as possible. And so, because you only have 180 days to use that approved labor certification, so we want to maximize their time. Once we're done with the ads, typically it's recommended to wait about 30 days, and then so you want to give some cooling period and make sure enough people are able to apply. And then step number 3 is actually filing the ETA 9089, which is the Perm application itself. You file it electronically, and there are certain things that you have to do. You have to get an account with the Labor Department and all these things, and an employer can do that. And once the Perm application is filed, a few things can happen. First, application, it takes a few months. And timing depends on the time of the year, of course, but it's either going to be approved, certified via email, or it's going to be denied, or it's going to be referred to an audit. If there's an audit, which is it happens, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but it can happen sometimes. We have special things that can trigger an audit. Maybe you request a language requirement. Maybe the job is in multiple locations. Anything that can trigger an audit. Maybe you have a family member that is sponsoring you in that same company. Anything like that can trigger an audit, and it's fine. If there's an audit, the only drawback is it's just going to take longer, but it's there's always a way to respond to an audit. We've done many audits successfully. But if one of those three things happen, if it's approved, obviously you can proceed to the next step, which is filing the case with immigration, the I-140, and we've done a video on that as well, talking about the general process. If it's denied, then there's a way to appeal it, or sometimes we can just refile it, depends on the reason. And if it's referred to an audit, then you have to deal with an audit. Typically, when we do the recruitment, we always recommend to do a recruitment report, keep all the ads and tier sheets of the newspaper in a very specific place, because if there's an audit, then you just take all these documents that you saved and you can present them to the adjudicator, and you don't have to scramble and look for them. So therefore, during the recruitment process, we recommend to keep a recruitment file with all the ads and all the documents in there in case there's an audit. So that's in general the process of labor certification, also known as Perm. Hopefully it's been helpful to you to understand that. If you have questions, please post them in the comments or email them to me, and I'll be more than happy to answer. And again, thank you for watching our videos, and we look forward to seeing you in our next one.